A developer applied to 43 senior Python roles last quarter. 2 callbacks. They looked at their GitHub and counted. A TODO app, a weather widget, a Flask blog with 3 routes. That was the portfolio. Because senior Python roles in 2026 don't hire people who finish tutorials. They hire people who ship systems that don't fall over at 3 in the morning. And right now, 90% of the Python portfolios on GitHub look identical. A weather app, a Flask blog, a scraper that hits one API and calls it a day. If that's your portfolio, this video is the correction. Here's the macro lens on hiring right now. Entry-level tech hiring at large employers dropped sharply through 2023 and 2024. Some reports put the decline near 2/3. More than half of engineering leaders now say they'll hire fewer juniors in 2026 because AI eats that work cheaper. But here's the part nobody talks about. Senior roles are still growing. The Bureau of Labor Statistics projects roughly 17% growth for software developers through 2033, well above average. And Python is disproportionately concentrated in the fastest growing subcategories: data engineering, MLOps, security tooling. Specialist Python work on freelance platforms has held up noticeably better than generalist roles, not worse. So the market isn't collapsing, it's bifurcating. Juniors are being squeezed, seniors are being paid more, the middle is disappearing. Which leaves you one move: skip the line. We'll walk through 5 Python projects that do exactly that. Each one solves a problem companies actually pay for. Each one forces you to write code that reads like an engineer who's been burned in production before. Every one of these projects has one thing in common. Not the language, not the stack, something smaller than that. And more important, we'll get to it at the halfway mark. Project 1. A high-performance bank reconciliation engine. Plain English. Software that takes 2 files, one from the bank, one from the company's internal ledger. Millions of rows each. The job is to match them, find the discrepancies, and explain why the numbers don't line up. Why does this matter? Every fintech, every neobank, every payment processor on Earth runs a reconciliation job at the end of every day. Most of them run it on legacy code from 2012 that takes 6 hours. Show up with a Python engine that does it in 12 minutes, you don't apply for a senior job. You negotiate one. The stack is where this stops being a tutorial project. You don't use pandas. Past 10 million rows, pandas starts choking. Memory pressure, slow joins, no lazy evaluation. You use Polars, the Rust-backed data frame library built on Apache Arrow. You stream Parquet files instead of loading CSVs into memory. You vectorize everything. And if you're wondering whether Python can actually run this kind of workload in production, hold that question. We come back to it. But the stack isn't the senior signal. The senior signal is what you do around the stack. You handle back pressure when the bank file arrives before the ledger. You make every operation idempotent, because when this job crashes at 2 a.m., and it will, the on-call engineer needs to rerun it without double counting. You emit a reconciliation drift report, so finance can see exactly which transactions diverged and by how much. What to build first? A matcher that handles fuzzy duplicates. 2 transactions, same amount, same day, 1 cent off. Solve that single edge case cleanly, and you've already written code most mid-level engineers can't. Project 2. A predictive monitoring system for industrial IoT. Picture a factory floor. 200 sensors streaming temperature, vibration, pressure, RPM. Every second. Forever. Your system ingests that stream, spots anomalies before a machine fails, and alerts the operator with enough lead time to avoid a shutdown. This isn't hypothetical. Industrial automation vendors sell 6-figure predictive monitoring contracts, and most plants still run their own Python glue on top, because off-the-shelf dashboards rarely fit the existing stack. Most of those dashboards are from 2015 and only know how to send emails. The stack is modern async Python under real load. FastAPI for the control plane. WebSockets to push alerts to the operator dashboard in real time. MQTT to ingest from the sensors, because that's the protocol factories actually use. And a time series database below it. Timescale DB if you want to stay inside the Postgres ecosystem. Quest DB if ingest throughput is your primary constraint. Senior differentiator here is about resilience. You use async I/O, so a single slow sensor doesn't block the entire pipeline. You pool your database connections, because opening a new one per message will destroy you at scale. You implement alert thresholds with hysteresis, so a sensor bouncing around the boundary doesn't page the night shift every 40 seconds. And you wrap the external calls in circuit breakers. If the alerting service goes down, your ingestion doesn't die with it. What to build first? The hysteresis logic. Not the dashboard, not the ML model. A simple state machine that says, fire the alert only if we've been above threshold for n consecutive readings, and don't refire for m seconds. That one piece of code is what separates a prototype from something a plant manager would actually deploy. Project 3. A resilient ETL pipeline with built-in observability. Now picture the 3 a.m. Slack message. Data pipeline failed, reports are blank, exec review in 4 hours. Picture the engineer who built it, having no idea where to look, because the pipeline has zero observability. That's the job you're walking into. What to build first? The dead letter queue and the replay mechanism. Nothing signals production experience faster than a pipeline that can quarantine bad data, let the ops team inspect it, and reprocess once the source is fixed. Build that spine before you build anything else. Then the stack. Prefect or Dagster for orchestration. OpenTelemetry for tracing, structured logging. JSON, not print statements. Pydantic for schema validation, at every boundary. And the dead letter queue you already built, sitting where validation fails, so records don't just vanish. Senior differentiator is a mindset. A senior builds recovery before features. You treat your data pipeline like you treat an API. You define SLAs. This batch must land by 7 a.m. with 99% freshness. You publish data contracts, so downstream consumers know exactly what schema to expect. You build replay and backfill from day one because production pipelines fail. The question is never will it fail. It's how painful is recovery. And you omit lineage metadata so anyone can trace where a bad number in a dashboard came from. Quick pause. Remember the thing every one of these projects has in common? It's not the language, it's not the framework, it's something smaller. It's that every single project, from reconciliation to IoT to ETL, is defined by what happens when things go wrong, retries, back pressure, idempotency, dead letter queues, circuit breakers, hysteresis. A junior writes for the happy path, a senior writes for the failure path. Hiring managers look for this first, and when they don't find it, they close the tab. So the question stops being, what should I build? It becomes, how do I build it, like someone who's been paged at 3 a.m. Okay, 2 more projects. These are the ones that turn a senior resume into a staff level 1. Project 4 looks like it belongs in a different video. It doesn't. A legal or financial document analysis agent, and no, this is not another generic chatbot. Everyone and their intern built a generic RAG chatbot in 2024. Those projects no longer signal anything. What signals senior applied AI in 2026 is a domain-specialized retrieval system that a lawyer, analyst, or compliance officer would actually trust with their job on the line. Stack. Use pgvector so retrieval runs inside Postgres. Your vectors live in the same transaction as your source of truth rows. Same database, same backups, same ACID guarantees. Use LangGraph or Llama Index for the agent workflow so you have explicit state, not a mystery loop. Use domain-specific chunking. A contract is not a blog post. Clauses, sections, and references matter. Random 512 token splits destroy the meaning. The senior differentiator is auditability, not capability. Every answer cites. Every citation is verifiable. Nothing ships without an eval harness, a hallucination guard, and a per-query cost budget. The engineer who learns to ship AI without blowing up the bill is the one who gets promoted. What to build first? The retrieval eval. Before you touch a single prompt, build a small data set of 50 questions with ground truth passages and measure what percentage of the time your retriever actually finds the right one. That number is the ceiling of your entire system. Most AI engineers skip this step. Skipping it is why their projects don't work in production. Project 5. An internal code dependency vulnerability scanner, the kind of project security teams actually wish someone would build. Every company of meaningful size has hundreds of repos. Every repo has hundreds of dependencies. Every dependency has a non-zero chance of containing a critical vulnerability that will show up on the news next Tuesday. Most companies still run this check by hand. Once a quarter, in a spreadsheet. Your project. Build a scanner that ingests an entire organization's repos, generates a software bill of materials, cross-references it against live vulnerability databases, and enforces policy at the pull request level. Stack. OSV.dev, the open vulnerability database Google maintains for real-time data. Sift to generate the SBOM software bill of materials with CycloneDX or SPDX as the format. Open Policy Agent, OPA, for policy as code, so your rules are versioned in Git instead of living in one engineer's head. Senior Differentiator. License compliance, because legal cares about GPL contamination even more than security cares about CVEs. Reachability analysis. Don't just flag that a vulnerable function exists. Flag whether anything in the codebase actually calls it. CI gate integration. A developer should discover the problem on their PR, not in a quarterly audit. And risk scoring that combines severity, reachability, and exposure so the team knows what to fix first, not just what's broken. What to build first? The CI gate. The GitHub action that runs on every PR generates the SBOM, scans against OSV, and posts a comment with the diff. If a new dependency introduces a high-severity CVE, the gate fails. Everything else in this project is polish. That gate is the whole product. Step back and look at the 5 together. Finance, industrial IoT, data pipelines, applied AI, security tooling, 5 completely different domains. Identical underlying mindset. Every project assumes things will break. Every project plans recovery before it plans features. Every project treats observability, tests, and policy as first-class citizens, instead of things you bolt on once the CTO complains. Tools are just the medium. Polars, FastAPI, Prefect, LangGraph, OPA. Those names will change. In 3 years, half of them will be replaced by something with a shinier logo. What won't change is the question beneath the code. Does this person operate at system level or surface level? Your portfolio is either answering that question or it's answering the wrong one. Pick one of these 5, not all of them, one. Go deep. Ship it with tests, traces, a real README, and a 2-minute demo video explaining the failure modes you handled. That single repo will outperform every TODO app you could build in the same year combined. That's how you skip the line. One last thing. Remember the question I asked you to hold at Project 1? Whether Python can actually run this stuff in production? It's been sitting underneath everything we just walked through. Every project on this list leans on Python for work that used to live in Java, C++, or Go. Can Python actually handle this? Reconciliation runs across hundreds of millions of rows, 1,000 IoT messages per second streaming and live. If that question has been in the back of your head through this entire video, good, because we made a companion video on exactly that. Can Python actually build real apps? Where we break down whether Python has the real horsepower for the kind of systems we just walked through, or whether the hype is outrunning the runtime. Watch that one next. It's the honest answer most Python tutorials won't give you.